WNBA Finals. And so I'll leave it there. I mean, I'm just obviously disheartened. You know, I'm a human too. I have a family. I have 2 kids who are devastated by these comments. And so all I'll say is just...
We need to talk about what didn't happen this week. Usually, in the world of sports media, the headlines are fueled by what was shouted, what was finalized, and what was aired. But right now, the biggest story in the WNBA isn't a buzzer beater or a playoff clinch. It is the echoing sound of silence. It is the story of a massive announcement that was reportedly locked in the chamber, primed to explode, only to be ripped apart at the very last second by the people sitting in the high tower of the league office. We are talking about Caitlin Clark, a network giant like NBC, and a direct intervention that shut down a partnership that could have reshaped the financial future of women's basketball forever. For months, the narrative has been that the WNBA is simply going through growing pains or learning how to handle the surge of new fans. But this latest move points to something far more deliberate. Reports and insiders are now beginning to assemble a troubling picture of a league office that appears deeply uneasy with its own superstar. This isn't just a misstep we're witnessing. This looks like a deliberate suppression of value. The rumors circling this blocked NBC announcement aren't really about airtime at all. They're about control. Who gets to own Caitlin Clark's voice? Who controls her image? And more importantly, is the WNBA Commissioner willing to torch the biggest marketing bridge the league has ever seen just to prove that the shield matters more than the player wearing it? If you thought the Olympic snub marked the height of the disrespect, brace yourself. What's unfolding behind closed doors involving NBC media rights and the so-called protection of the league's image feels darker, sharper, and far more personal. This is the story of how the WNBA tried to place a ceiling on a star built to soar, and why this specific ban could be the mistake that costs them everything. To understand why this ban hit like a bombshell, you first have to understand what was reportedly on the table. This wasn't some routine 30-second commercial or a soft Today Show appearance. Industry whispers suggest Clark and NBC were building something massive, a partnership that would have positioned her as a standalone media force, completely independent of the WNBA calendar. Think an off-season documentary series, exclusive commentary roles, or a branding alignment that would make her the face of NBC's basketball coverage heading into the next Olympic cycle. This kind of deal is leverage. It's the move that elevates a player from league employee to network partner. And that is exactly what the WNBA front office could not tolerate. The timing only deepens the suspicion. The league just finalized a historic $2.2 billion media rights deal, with NBC playing a major role. The commissioner's logic appears rooted in a rigid, almost greedy interpretation of exclusivity. The PIBB rumor is that Commissioner Kathy Engelbert and her inner circle stepped in to enforce a rigid chain of command. The logic being pushed is that because the league has a deal with NBC, Caitlin Clark cannot have a separate or potentially overshadowing individual deal with that same network. They're treating the network as if it's league-owned property. Imagine if the NBA told LeBron James he couldn't create a show for ESPN simply because NBA games air on ESPN. It sounds absurd, right? That's because it is. But inside the WNBA, where the balance of power is shifting at lightning speed, the front office is gripping control with white knuckles. They watched Clark on the verge of reaching a level of mainstream exposure the league itself couldn't script or supervise, and they slammed the brakes. And that leads us to the uncomfortable philosophy that appears to be driving every major decision surrounding the league's rookie phenomenon, an obsession with equity over excellence. There has been a palpable tension all season long from veteran players, the media, pundits, and now even the commissioner that Caitlin Clark must never be allowed to grow bigger than the collective. This blocked announcement is the clearest example of that mindset playing out in real time. If Clark launches a solo project with NBC, she separates herself from the pack. She becomes a household name in homes that don't even follow basketball. But the WNBA appears determined to sell the league strictly as a collective of stars. They want the Big Three or Big Five narrative, making sure that if Clark gets a slice of the pie, Angel Reese, Aya Wilson, and Breanna Stewart get one too. While that sounds noble on paper, it's a nightmare for business. You don't hide Michael Jordan just to make sure the rest of the Bulls get equal spotlight. You strap in and ride the rocket ship. By stopping this announcement, the commissioner is effectively enforcing a socialism of stardom. They are trying to artificially level the field by pulling the top performer back down to earth, and it's a move that reeks of fear and insecurity. The message being sent to locker rooms across the country couldn't be clearer. Don't get too big, don't get too ambitious. If you start to outgrow the gardener will step in and cut you back down. This isn't just aggravating for fans, it creates a toxic culture where success is treated with suspicion instead of celebration. And let's follow the money, because there is always a dollar sign attached to disrespect. The WNBA's new media rights deal is enormous, $2.2 billion spread over 11 years, a league-altering sum. But who drove that valuation? Who forced networks to finally loosen their grip on the checkbook? Everyone knows the answer is Caitlin Clark. The ratings don't lie. When she's on the floor, the cameras stay locked in and the ads sell themselves. The irony here is almost painful. The league is now using the very money and leverage Clark created to pay lawyers and executives who turn around and write rules designed to restrain her. They are using the NBC partnership, which became exponentially more valuable because of the Caitlin effect, as the weapon to keep her from accessing NBC on her own terms. It's parasitic. The host feeds off the energy of the organism while actively limiting its ability to move. Legal analysts believe the league is hiding behind conflict of interest clauses, arguing that Clark becoming an NBC media figure could somehow dilute the WNBA product. But that thinking is outdated. We are living in the era of the influencer athlete. Players are the product. By blocking this announcement, the WNBA is clinging to a business model that belongs 2 decades in the past. They want to hoard the rights to her image, forcing all revenue through the league's filter so an administrative cut can be taken before anything reaches the player. This isn't just a ban, it's a shakedown. And we need to stop softening what this actually does to a person's life. When you block a major media announcement for an athlete, you aren't just bruising their ego, you are taking real money out of their pocket. WNBA salaries are, bluntly, embarrassing compared to the NBA. Clark's rookie contract is pocket change by professional standards. Endorsements and media deals are how she earns her real income. When the commissioner shuts down an announcement with a giant like NBC, that isn't just business, it's financial violence. It is a direct strike at her earning power. We aren't talking about pocket change here. A partnership with NBC could easily reach 7 figures every single year. That's generational wealth. That's change your family's future money. For a league that constantly claims to champion the financial empowerment of women, they seem disturbingly comfortable blocking their most marketable woman from getting paid. That adds a layer of malice to this situation. It feels personal. It feels like punishment for not staying in line. And it raises an uncomfortable question. Is the WNBA trying to keep Caitlin Clark financially dependent on the league? If she's making $20 million a year through NBC, she doesn't need the WNBA. She doesn't need to absorb cheap shots, tolerate inconsistent officiating, or answer hostile media questions. She becomes untouchable. And maybe that's what the commissioner fears most, an employee who is too successful to control. This administrative hostility doesn't stop at the front office, it bleeds onto the court. We've seen the hard fouls all season. We've seen the Kennedy Carter hip check, the Reese stare-downs, the overly aggressive defense that drifts from physical into punitive. When the league office sends a message that Caitlin Clark needs to be humbled, it emboldens the players who already resent her. Think about the locker room psychology. If the commissioner is blocking Clark's deals, it reinforces the veteran narrative that she hasn't earned her place yet. It signals to the rest of the league that it's open season on the rookie. If the boss doesn't respect her, why should her opponents? This ban on the NBC announcement functions like a dog whistle. It tells everyone loud and clear, we are not going to let this girl take over. This creates a dangerous feedback loop. The more the league tries to suppress her, the more the physical play escalates, because referees and opposing players feel shielded by an unspoken anti-Clark culture. This isn't random, it's systemic failure. The WNBA should be protecting its golden goose, wrapping her in bubble wrap and launching her into the stratosphere of marketing. Instead, they are tossing her to the wolves and then slamming shut the door she could escape through. But here's the twist the league may not be fully accounting for. Caitlin Clark has an exit strategy. It's called Unrivaled. The new 3-on-3 league founded by Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier is offering massive salaries and real equity. And guess what? They are starving for star power. If the WNBA keeps playing these games, blocking announcements, limiting media freedom, and tolerating excessive physicality, Clark holds the leverage. She no longer has to fly overseas to Russia or Turkey just to get paid in the off-season. She can stay in Miami, suit up for Unrivaled. By trying to bury this partnership, the WNBA has done the exact opposite. They've made it the hottest topic of the week. They've generated more buzz about what Caitlin Clark almost did than about anything the league is actually accomplishing. Clark's camp is undoubtedly regrouping. They're savvy. They know public pressure is their sharpest weapon. Expect more leaks. Expect cryptic tweets. Expect the unrivaled league to make its move. The WNBA might think they won this round by slamming the gavel, but they've just stirred a hornet's nest. At its core, this banned NBC announcement is a symptom of a disease eating the WNBA from within, a disease of ego, insecurity, and control. The league is holding a winning lottery ticket and treating it like a bookmark. Caitlin Clark has brought attention, revenue, and relevance to a league starving for all three. And in return, she's faced cheap fouls, media snubs, and now administrative bans on her own business deals. The WNBA has a choice, and time is running out. They can ride the wave, let their superstar shine, and reap unprecedented success, or they can keep building dams to stop the flow. But here's the thing about water: if you block it long enough, pressure builds, and eventually the dam bursts. If the commissioner continues banning announcements and blocking bags, she won't humble Caitlin Clark, she'll lose her. And when the face of the league walks away to build her own empire, the WNBA will be left with nothing but equity, exclusivity clauses, and a sea of empty seats. The clock is ticking, Commissioner. Let them play. Let them earn, or watch them walk.